It's time once again for another episode of the Franchise Business Radio Show. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now here's your host, Pam Curie.
Welcome to the Franchise Business Radio Show. This is host Pamela Curry. And for all you listeners out there, as a simple reminder, the mission of the Franchise Business Radio Show is really to be a platform to bring together franchise professionals and resources to connect, educate, and collaborate to serve the franchise community as well as the franchise consumer. And, of course, I was just listening to that little jingle, and technically I am not in the studio today, the Atlanta studio. So I have to go ahead and give a shout-out or a virtual hello to my guests in the studio, John and Scott, as well as my radio colleagues, Rich and Brandon. We definitely have a different setup today. Everyone, with the exception of myself, is actually sitting in the Pro Business Channel Atlanta studio, and I am actually co-hosting the show from Charleston due to some business travel and circumstances that doesn't have me in the studio today. So welcome, everybody. Really excited to have you on the show today. I can feel the electricity across the state lines here.
A little less,
real quick.
A little less snow up your way as well, right?
Yes, I know it. Maybe that's what scared me away when you told me there were flurries coming down in Atlanta. And I said, I think I better just stay in Charleston then. Let's go ahead and get to know our guest in the studio today. And I also want to thank my co-host, Brandon, who has just been wonderful in working with me. And Brandon, if you would do me the honor of just introducing our guest and just, shake their hands for me since I'm not there to do it in person. I appreciate you being the face of Franchise Business Radio today.
All right, thank you. Our first guest is going to be Scott-mulloy. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Clarkston University, and he's a published author. He's currently the president of Naranga, which is an Atlanta-based franchise and retail management software company. He holds a depth of experience and expertise in developing technology for mobile solutions. Mulloy was Chief Technology Officer of Softcard, which was recently purchased by Google in June. He began his career at IBM, also spent 17 years at GE Capital, where he served as CIO for retail consumer finance business from 2004 through 2010. Scott, do you mind telling us a little bit about Naranga?
Sure. First of all, it's pronounced Naranja. But we hear both. We are, as you said, a technology company providing solutions to the franchise organizations. We were born from an acquisition in Atlanta of a company called eMaximation, which is a well-known lead management platform. And over the last 2 years, we've been building out solutions to manage the full wing-to-wing operations of a franchise organization. I'd love to share this story with you today. We're obsessed with the entrepreneurial spirit of franchising, and we're bothered by how much day-to-day tasks those great entrepreneurs were consumed with because of a lack of technology in their solutions. So we've spent the last couple of years building those solutions out, and look forward to sharing them with you today.
We look forward to it.
Thank you, Scott, because I'm very interested in learning a lot more about, and I want to make sure I'm saying it. It's Naranga. Is that proper? Am I saying it properly?
We say Naranja.
Naranja.
Yeah,
I have to roll off my tongue. I get it.
It's a
and by the way, I am familiar with eMaximation, and I'm really excited about what you just shared and some of the technologies you're getting ready to roll out. A lot of emerging technologies. It sounds like that really integrates with sales operations, marketing activities, and looking forward to learn a little bit more about that. Brandon, who else do you have in the studio?
We have John Nissan, who is an owner-operator of the Covington, Georgia Jimmy John's off of Highway 278.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about. And is it pronounced Jimmy John's?
Is that Jimmy Jones? Or, yeah, you stole my joke.
Right, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can use the Nissan. Then ask him how he pronounces his last name. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, Jimmy John's, just like you'd assume. It's definitely a smaller franchise, but definitely growing. It's been a blessing that I got that opportunity, and I get to make bread every day, so I can't really complain about that, and sandwiches too. So it works out pretty well.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, John, and I'm again, pleasure to meet you virtually. And I know about Jimmy John's, and I'm sure many of our listeners do as well. So I want to hear a little bit more about how you branched into the franchise world, and it's my understanding you're a franchisee, so I think you'll be able to provide a lot of insight to our listeners on what made you go down that path. Before we circle back around with Scott, I do want to provide our listeners with your contact information. John, would you please let us know how would someone go about getting in touch with you?
You could actually use my email address. Will probably be the most efficient way. It's going to be john@cclsubs.com. And, I'm pretty much available 24/7 on that email address.
Oh, that's new. Have you ever heard of the saying, under promise, over deliver?
It's probably a good idea.
23 and a half. Yeah, you just have to
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. I agree. Well, welcome. Thank you for that. And Scott, before we, learn a little bit more about your technology company, if you wouldn't mind sharing with our listeners, how would someone go about getting in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah. My email with Naranga is smulloy, S as in Scott, MULLOY, @naranga.com. That's NARANGA.com. And I'm available about 18 by 7, I guess. Yeah.
Understood. So talk to us a little bit, Scott, if you don't mind, elaborate a little bit more about what does your company do? Technology, that's such a broad word in today's world. What specifically are you offering to the franchise community as the retail space?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, we look at it as a wing-to-wing technology platform. So, consider yourself a franchisor with this great concept looking to build your organization. One of the first things you think about is a lead management platform. How do I identify new locations or new prospective owners for my franchisees? So we purchased a company, as you mentioned, and are aware of. It's a leading platform within the franchise industry called eMaximation. And we use that for lead management. But we don't stop there. Once you get the franchise on board, of course, now you're in day-to-day operations. We run a platform. It's called Encompass. You'll get a theme with things starting with N as I go through here. We run a platform called Encompass that solves the operational needs of the franchise. So, think of your day-to-day. I have John sitting next to me. His franchisor will want to communicate to him, here's new product launches coming. They'll want to push new brand guidelines or specifications down. This platform allows that franchisor to communicate securely, very mobile-centric. You'll hear me say that too often. I'll be repetitive. Very mobile-centric platform. John's on the go. The franchisor's on the go. The platform allows you to manage your business where you are. We offer technology solutions around training. So as new products are rolled out, or you want to push a new sales process, for instance, we offer a very secure, mobile-centric training platform. And then maybe just to list a fourth, we have a quality review process. So, a franchisor will want to have a field team visiting their organization, seeing if they're honoring the brand, if they're consistent in their delivery. We have a platform that allows that field team to go out, review the franchise, provide feedback, suggest training opportunities back within the other platform if needed. So really, it's broad, but when you think of, the full requirements of a franchise owner, those are the technology solutions we provide. Today, and we are just getting started, we support 144 clients that consist of over 250 brands.
Wow.
And are very eager to grow that over the next 2 years.
Absolutely. And you know what? That makes me think of something. When that, by the way, that's an incredible customer base, and with where you are. 250 brands. Are you focused on a particular industry within the franchise community, or do you cross over multiple industries?
Yeah, certainly cross multiple. We have several restaurants, like Jimmy John's here in the studio with me today. We have healthcare, franchise operations in senior centers and assisted care centers. Many in the construction industry that franchise their operations. And to be honest, we while franchising is our passion, we have some multi-location hotels and retailers that are part of the platform as well. So the platform is built with a franchise mindset. But if you're a multi-unit, multi-location industry, you can find utility from the platform as well.
Makes sense, and I like that wing to wing. I like that wing to wing, and just on the franchise level, or even on any kind of organization that has multiple units. I mean, you really are. It sounds like you are hitting on three key pillars. Obviously, those general operational needs, which leads to the support and the training. And that's not even on the front end, but once they actually have already established themselves as a business. Is your technology at the company or at the franchisor level, or is it also on the franchisee level? Like, what does that look like, the platform?
Sure, yeah, it's both. It's all cloud-based, and a vastly overused term within the technology industry, but there's no footprint required within the franchisor or franchisee organization. You can access it from any PC within your locations or any mobile device, but it serves both. On the franchisor side, lead management being one of their key processes. Of course, that's more franchisor based. But the training module, though the content may be delivered by the franchisor, the actual delivery takes place at the franchisee level. So as you're looking to make a new sandwich or look for the ingredients of a new sandwich, or in a different industry, you're looking. We do some custom building franchises. As you're looking to understand the construction spec or guidelines, that training content is delivered out to the franchisee level.
Well, I'm actually working with a client here in Charleston, and my wheels are turning on how we might be able to work with you. That's great information.
You got my email address, right?
Yes, I do. I'm writing down little side notes, my to-do list after the show today. Could you kind of talk to us, how does your technology improve franchise operations? What are some of the general challenges that franchisors are faced with today, and how are you helping solve those problems?
Yeah, maybe let me start with a very recent example. We partner with a national retailer, a national franchisor that is largely a delivery-based business. So orders are placed and deliveries take place. As you joked about in the beginning, I actually spend most of my time in the Northeast. There's a lot of weather happening right now, a lot of snow. So, as a franchisor, you need to know if franchisees are short-staffed or perhaps not even able to get to their location on a particular day and therefore unable to fulfill those orders. So that particular client uses our nCompass, our operations platform, to monitor the availability of each franchise location. And if, for instance, the roads are closed or you're encouraged not to get to work, or the delivery drivers for that business aren't able to navigate the streets that day, you can use the nCompass platform to turn that store off, if you will, and reroute orders to others in the area. So, in the end, it's all about fulfilling the need of the customer. That's why these franchisors started the business. We don't want them obsessed day to day with mundane or operational tasks like that. We want to have the platform take as much of that as they can away from them, so they can focus on what they do best, which is growing their business.
So, you're kind of making me think here. So you had said earlier about mobility. And obviously the key component of that is communication of what you just shared. Does that feed all the way down to the employee level as well?
Yeah, they made a video. I got a face for radio.
Right. Yeah, Pam, everybody's video. We're all looking at the monitor in the studio. Yeah.
Oh, really? I was like, what am I missing out on in the studio?
Yeah. Let me talk about the communications capabilities within the operations platform, and they're severalfold. First, we offer a secure two-way chat. So, if a franchisor and franchisee are having very much a back and forth, hey, how are you on this product today? What are you hearing from the customers? We offer a secure chat channel that can go from mobile to mobile. So not SMS text, not out in the open wild, but a secure chat channel. If a franchisee is facing an issue today, they don't have the product needed to meet the customer needs, or they're looking for assistance on a new product launch, they open a ticket in our vernacular within the Encompass platform, and the franchisor then will receive that ticket and respond to it in the best way possible. We also offer it's called our Live Wall. Has a very social media look and feel to it. But if a franchisor is looking to publish a key message, Valentine's Day is just a handful of days away. If that's a holiday core to your business, and you, the franchisor, want to communicate out to the franchisee, hey, we're running a reduced menu that day, or hey, be prepared, make sure you over-order product because we know the volume we saw last year. So the franchisor, in a very social media look and feel, can post critical messages out to the franchisees. They can monitor who's read that. The franchisees can comment or provide feedback back. So it's a very closed loop approach to communications, far better than the traditional means of email and text, where you're pushing out a message but you have no idea if and how it's being received.
Great. So if a franchisor were to want to get in touch with you and just sort of understand this whole process, could you talk to us about how do you provide training and support to your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have I have a dedicated integration team here in Atlanta. We're based out of Atlantic Station here in Atlanta. So as we're, we start with, we use our own system. So let me start there. We use our own lead management system. So we track a set of leads of people that may be interested in Naranga technology. As a lead converts to a customer, the dedicated integration team steps in and integrates the product, and that is customized for each customer. Really important. The technology is not customized. The technology is parameterized so that each customer can use it the way they see fit, but everyone's running on the same version. And if you're from the technology space, you know how important that is. You don't want your own customized version and be off the upgrade path. But that integration team, let's use Nsight. It was the field tool that I talked about. Every customer will have different quality questions, reviews, and metrics that they find important. Our integration team will sit with the new customer and say, hey, what questions do you want on your field audit tool, and how do you want to rate them? Is it a scale of 1 to 10? Is it a true-false question? Our integration team will set that full platform up in conjunction with the client, taking what's important to the client, getting it into the application, doing demos as needed, and then delivering the solution. As soon as it's delivered, we run a dedicated support team that any issues that are faced are called into the support line, and we actively triage them. We're proud to say today that we run zero backlog of issues within our system, so that tells us that we're receiving and responding quickly to customer feedback, which is very important with us. And then finally, and it's an aspect of training, but our tagline at Naranga is "Grow with us," and what that means to us is we want to take the feedback from the customers on board and evolve the product over time to their standards. We're not building solutions that are out there looking for problems. We're attacking problems with solutions. So it's really important to us that both training and customer onboarding and support, that we have open dialogue with our customers and are evolving the product to suit their needs.
I like it. I like that philosophy. And I'm just kind of curious, your name, Naranga, is there a story behind that?
Yeah, there is. Our CEO and founder is also the CEO and founder of Edible Arrangements. So fruit has been good to him, and apparently I heard apple was taken. So we adopted the name Naranga, which is, though slightly misspelled, translates to orange in Spanish.
Understand. That makes sense. Thank you. Actually, that's very memorable. That helps. And if speaking of being memorable, could you please let us know, tell our listeners again how they can go about getting a hold of you?
Sure, yeah. My email is smulloy, smulloy, at naranga.com, naranga.com.
And, of course, website, www.naranga.com, naranga.com. I'm very proud. Thank you, Scott. Really, really appreciate you being on the show and sharing about your wing-to-wing technology. And I look forward to learning more because I have a particular brand that I want to speak to you about that we might have reason to work together in other ways. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we have another guest in the studio, right, Brandon? John, and Brandon, I'm just gonna open this up to you. I know that you actually asked John to be on the show today. Is there a story to be told there?
Oh, well, during my time at Georgia State taking the franchising class, I had a class project, and so I had to seek out owner-operators of franchises and ask them questions, finding out their specific edge, finding out how some of their advertisement works, stuff like that. And John was very, very helpful. I ended up passing the class with an A because of him, and so.
And John, who would have thought, helping out a college student would lead to you being a guest on the Franchise Business Radio Show?
It's true. I think it helped a little bit that I knew the teacher. I'm just kidding. That's true.
And John, if I know that you're with Jimmy John's, which is a quick service restaurant, and I don't want to assume everyone knows Jimmy John's, even though I think most of them do. But would you mind just kind of giving us an overview of Jimmy John's?
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of like Subway, Firehouse, and Jersey Mike's, just 10 times better.
Touché.
But the difference between us and the rest of the sub shops is we like to be freaky fast, and by that we mean that we want to make sure that when the customer comes in, they get exactly what they need right then, and instead of having to wait 2 or 3 minutes, even a minute is in our books is considered slow. So we like to pump them out 30 seconds or faster. And Jimmy John's, Jimmy John himself has actually said plenty of times, we don't want to be the biggest. We want to be the best. And so if that means that, we're not going to be, the fastest growing company in the 30 years or whichever, then that's okay. Just as long as we're making the best subs as possible and making sure that, whenever people come in, they get exactly what they want and, leave happy.
Absolutely. And you know what? Can I ask you, because obviously, people come into the restaurant, but I feel like I see little delivery cars all over the place for Jimmy John's. Is that a big part of your business as well?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's what makes us different than Subway, Jersey Mike's, and Firehouses. We deliver our subs. We actually have people that will be on bikes, people will be on cars. We've had unicycles at one point. But yeah, we've definitely in the Atlanta area, I'm sure people have ran into the bikes plenty of times. In the kind of more suburban areas, it's been the cars. And when you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I really just don't feel like getting off the couch, call Jimmy John's. We'll get you in there in about 15 minutes.
I love it. So real quick, what is your background? How did you get into the restaurant business?
The restaurant business, I was actually pretty much born into it. My mom, when she was, kind of her first job was running a restaurant. When I was in diapers, my mom and dad had a little gas station that had a restaurant in it, and so I was kind of, seeing that even when I was 2 or 3 years old. And then eventually, when I was about 14, 15, my mom owned a restaurant by herself, and on the weekends and after school, I'd be in there helping her out, taking orders. bringing out the customers' food, all that good stuff. And once I got to college, it was kind of a no-brainer to keep going into the restaurant business. I started waiting tables, started cooking food, did all that good stuff. And then once I graduated, it was pretty much about 6 months before I graduated, I was presented the opportunity to open up a Jimmy John's. And so at that point, I was like, well, I've done everything in the restaurant business besides be the owner. So I give that a shot and see how it goes. So far, it's been pretty good.
Well, with all that, I mean, obviously, you're right. You really saw the restaurant space from all different perspectives. And as we all know, that can be a really tough industry. And once you're in it, though, I do think it gets in your blood, right? It becomes a part of who you are. But why Jimmy John's? I mean, you've seen many different concepts. You saw the restaurant business model from all different perspectives, and you chose Jimmy John's. Why?
Going through college, ordering Jimmy John's, kind of being in there, seeing the atmosphere, seeing how everything runs. It was just kind of a no-brainer at that point. I mean, they make good subs. They're not trying to cut corners on their product, and I love telling people I'm freaky fast. It's something that's it's pretty good. So I figured, why not?
Absolutely. So how does it feel putting on that owner hat and working for yourself?
That's been the most interesting part. When I was a waiter and busboy and cook, it was okay. I'm gonna clock in, do my job, clock out. Now it's okay. I've got a stake in the company. I've got to make sure that if I'm gonna take the hardest task, then there's no excuse for anybody else. So I've got to kind of show that leadership and. So that's been the most interesting part is, okay, just because the doors are closed doesn't mean my job's over.
Good, well said. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's no longer the store hours shifts, right? There's a lot of operational items and after store hour work that needs to occur, which makes perfect sense. For our listeners out there, anything else you would like to add in regards to some of the greater differences of being an owner versus an employee?
The biggest part is kind of when I used to have managers, I'd always be confused why they would kind of just be not upset, but just like kind of confused about how we would have some drama and stuff like that. And so now when I actually hear an argument between two employees and hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, it all makes sense now. Like, none of this stuff is big deal. But if at the time it felt like it, but kind of dealing with different personalities and not just like being in your own little world. You're pretty much at that point taking care of a few other people because you're giving them a job. You're giving them the opportunity to provide for their family and everything like that. And so that's almost heartwarming at that point because you get to see that. All right, this person's doing a good job. Let me reward them for that. And then when they take that and take it as a tenfold and, really take it to heart and say, okay, well, this person helped me out, and so now I'm going to help them out. And then it just goes on and on.
Absolutely. And where is your Jimmy John's location?
It's Covington, Georgia. It's about 25 minutes out of East Atlanta area, probably about 10 minutes from Conyers, if you're familiar with that area. Pretty much just take I-20 all the way down to about 278. Excellent.
And if someone was going to pin you in the corner on during social hour and say, okay, let's hear it. What are some of your favorite things about Jimmy John's?
Wouldn't be the first time I was pinned in a corner, but I'd probably say my favorite thing about Jimmy John's is the bread. I mean, it's almost addicting at that point. I just enjoy pretty much baking it. It's the coolest part because you actually get to see how that process is. And then when you open that oven up and you smell that fresh bread, it's a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I usually get there kind of early, and so it's almost like my breakfast is the free smells that we give out. We've been thinking about charging them, but we still let everybody have some free smells now and then.
Fair enough. Did you? Now, I'm not in the studio, so I'm curious. Did you bring samples for anyone else in the studio?
I didn't. I should have.
Yeah.
I felt like if we. I felt like it'd be bad radio if everybody was eating on the radio and not really talking, so I held back.
Well, a good point. It's not like you can eat and be on the radio at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess I could have saved it for after the show, but
yeah, we're happy to eat after the show, whatever. Yeah. And I just have to chime in here real quick. Rich Casanova in the Buckhead studio. We call Jimmy John's. We have it in our. I reach over to our file cabinet. We call, and it's a trip right out our window. We see the guy on the bicycle, bring it right to the studio. But what I've seen too, like I've seen a guy on a bike just carrying a soda. He's delivering just a
oh yeah, they're very talented. Those bikers, they're almost or they feel they're invincible sometimes. The way they run through some stoplights and stuff, and I'm like, you're on a bike. These guys got cars. You got to be careful about that. But yeah, you'll see some of them have a soda in their hand. Some of them will try and do two hands, and I'm like, you got to steer the steering wheel eventually. But it's interesting.
That's right, especially in Atlanta traffic, right?
Oh yeah.
Most definitely. So, if you would mind sharing how can our listeners go ahead and get in touch with you, John? What would be the best way?
Email or call the store. Preferably email, just so you don't tie the lines up for the people that are trying to get deliveries. But my email address again is john@cclsubs.com. Store number 678-712-6981. You call for a delivery, we'll get it out to you in about 12 minutes on a good day. But yeah, like I said, 24/7, probably closer to 16 and 7.
And you just made me think of something there. If someone wanted to call for a delivery, would they call or email you? One, both? What's the preference there?
They can call. The call will probably be the easiest way because if you've never had Jimmy John's, it's easier to get walked through with the menu and kind of get it explained. You can even go to jimmyjohns.com and order online. Depending on your address, they'll pull up the closest store near you. Hopefully, we deliver to you. If you're out of our delivery range, by the time you put it in, we'll have it ready for you for pickup. So you can even come through if it's got a drive-through. Just whip through the drive-through, pick it up, and you'll be good to go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Really appreciate you being on the show, and we will invite you back if you bring us food next time. And I'm in the studio.
Fair enough. We might have to do that.
Great. Well, Rich, I just want to hand it over to you. I know you're in the studio there. Any additional thoughts that you would like to add before we kind of walk through some of the things that I do and how I might be able to help any of our listeners out there?
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to ask each guest who would like to start first, maybe Scott, is two questions. What's a good day look like for you, and what's your biggest challenge in your business?
Sure, yeah. A good day for me is the people from my company today are smiling, knowing what I'll say. A good day for me is full of relentless execution. So the second a customer calls in with an issue or a request, if we're doing a demo and want to demonstrate Naranga's capabilities to a customer, for me it's all about execution. Within the technology space, it's our job to let the business owners focus on what they do best, growing their business. We don't want them having to worry about managing their business in legacy tools, or we even hear Excel in some cases. So a good day for me is helping a business owner grow and operate through their business through relentless execution on our side.
Okay, what's your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is we run a 24/7 platform. So when you enter the technology space, I'll use. So I'm taking John's 24/7 now. The biggest challenge is the system can never rest. The system can never sleep. So I mentioned Valentine's Day. There are several of our clients where Valentine's Day is a very big event for them. So over the course of the next 4 or 5 days, there can be no mishaps in delivery. In productivity of the platform, so we like to say we lose sleep over ensuring that the platform is 100% available and reliable for our customers.
All
right.
I like it.
All right. Well, John, I'm going to ask you the same questions. What's a good day look like for you?
A good day, may not look like the best thing for everybody else, but when we're slammed pretty much everybody filled in the restaurant trying to get subs. Definitely looks great for me as long as my oven's working great, my employees are ready to rock it out, and like you said, solid execution. Just making sure that everybody's getting the subs exactly how they order them and getting them out fast, and so that definitely can put a smile on my face.
That's good. What's a challenging day look like for you?
That could be multiple things. It kind of depends. There's a few things in the restaurant that actually can make my life a little difficult. If the oven for some reason is acting up, or if the POS systems or the computers are kind of running a little slower, or internet connection goes down or something like that, can't run credit cards, and having to work around that. Jimmy John's philosophy is get the job done however it's supposed to be done or however it takes. So when something happens like that, it's just kind of figuring out how to work around it.
Yeah. I've talked to you before about saying that I'm interested in franchising. Do you have any tips to potential franchisers or franchisees out there?
Yeah, I think the biggest tip is to not go into it blindly, kind of working in the restaurant business a little bit and understanding it. Just like any other business, retail, all that other stuff, it's a little different. So working in the restaurant, kind of understanding that, Friday nights and Saturday nights are going to be your busiest nights and holidays are no longer yours. So be used to that. Definitely understand that it's hard working, but at the end of the day, when you clock out and go sit down on your couch or whichever, you feel proud about yourself.
All right. Scott, we're going to go back to you. What keeps you busy and inspires you?
When you're not working.
Yeah,
when you're off the clock, yeah. I know we're talking entrepreneurs right here. Just for just a moment, take off your work hat, whatever, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I guess first I have a daughter who turns 16 on February 21st. So,
oh, wow.
So that keeps me busy worrying as she's about to become a driver, and I have an 11-year-old son who's very active in soccer. Me personally, I like to run. I attempt to, and did this year, run the New York City Marathon every year. So
wow.
2 months removed and about 10 pounds more. So I blame the Jimmy John's bread in part for that. So, between kids and a wife and a passion for running, that keeps me busy. So.
Oh, that's great. John, what keeps you busy and inspires you when you're not working?
Luckily, I don't have any kids or a wife, but like Scott said, I try to run a little bit. I don't know how much you'd actually call running at that point, but I feel like I'm moving at a fast pace. But being outdoors is kind of something I've always enjoyed. If it's hiking or actually just going for a walk or whichever, it's always been a passion of mine.
That's great.
All right, Pam. So I don't know if you have any follow-up questions for the guests, but we're winding down the time for the show here. I know we want to kind of chat about your offerings as well.
Yes, I just one last question, and there might not really be an answer to that, but I was just curious if either of you have any upcoming events that you might like to announce.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, we will be. So it's not our event. It's a very broad industry event. We will be hosting a booth at IFA, February 20th through 22nd. So please stop by and say hi. Our team will be there and looking to demonstrate for you the power and flexibility of Naranga solutions.
Great, thank you. John, any upcoming events that you would like to announce?
Yeah, actually today in about 15 minutes our doors will be open to be serving subs. But yeah, besides that, just every day is a blessing, I guess, for us to be able to do it.
Cool. Right. Well, thanks to both of you for being on the show, and again, pleasure to meet you virtually. This is a little bit of a different setup, and I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed your company from afar.
Nice. Well, so Pam, let's kind of jump in and let's talk about a little bit of your background, and for the folks who may not know, your position is kind of as a broker, right? So people listening from both sides of franchisor, franchisee, or prospective person that's looking to kind of dab their toe in the water in the franchise pool and consider franchising. What do you kind of bring to the table? What hats do you wear?
Yeah, absolutely. And John and Scott, I realize we haven't really had a chance to speak about my company and really what put me in this position of being the host of the Franchise Business Radio Show. I actually founded my own franchise consulting company almost 7 years ago now, and the name of that company is Franchise Intellect. And the way I've built out my consulting practice is really working on different levels of the whole franchise community. One, as Rich just mentioned, is actually working with individuals who are considering franchise ownership. You would call that being a franchise broker. Basically, I'm a business matchmaker. Anyone who's considering franchise ownership, I go in, understand what it is they're looking for in a business, what kind of criteria, what lifestyle, what area of interest, what their investment budget is. And once we're able to really hone in on some of those key criteria, then we're able to hopefully find a business that aligns with that for them. And what's really unique about the business model is my services are complementary to the individual. Because I'm compensated by the franchisor once you bring them that qualified franchisee. So that's definitely a key service of my franchise consulting business. But another key service that I offer is I actually work with franchisors, basically helping them very much on the operational side or in the franchise development side. That's actually what has me out in Charleston right now. I'm actually working with an emerging franchisor, and it does fall in the retail space, by the way, Scott. And we are just, if you guys know, an emerging franchisor, we wear a lot of different hats. And so I'm wearing multiple hats with them, basically assisting on the operational side, hopefully putting together some training and support components for them, as well as helping on the development side, how to grow their franchise system. So it's a lot of different hats, and consulting is always a broad term, but it just depends on what the different needs are out there, and properly adjust to make sure we're providing services based upon the needs of our clients.
And actually, we're all in the studio looking at your website right now, looking at the list. I didn't realize it was this expansive of, and this is just a sampling of some of the folks that you work with or represent, and from business services to building, storage. I mean, we could probably take the rest of the day. We would have to order in Jimmy John's to finish out the list.
That is true. That is very true. Yes, as a franchise consultant, I am affiliated with the network, and through that network, we represent close to 500 franchisor brands. And the advantage of that is when you're working with an individual, we don't want to pigeonhole them into a brand, any old brand. We want to make sure that we can really find the right business based upon what they're looking for. So as you can see, the representation on my website shows that we have brands that cross over many different industries, and also franchisors that are in different places in their evolution. Some that are young, emerging franchise brands, others that are, we call, more medium-sized franchise brands, and then those that are more mature systems that already have a very strong brand awareness out there. So lots of different options, and that's one of the greatest, I'd say that's one of the greatest services I can offer to individuals who are considering franchise ownership, is to expose them and educate them, to get them thinking outside of the box, because sometimes they're not even aware of the many different franchise opportunities that are out there and available to them.
Absolutely, well said. And I know you have several subject matter experts here in the studio, and in your wheelhouse with 20-plus years, as you mentioned, in your space, and as a national trainer and so forth, you definitely bring that expertise from a civilian perspective, if you will. And I know, Brandy, you as a student in the class, the franchising course, you probably didn't realize as well all the offerings out there, right?
Yeah, I'd never heard of franchise consultancy until Pam came to our class and started talking about it, and it was very interesting, and I was surprised. I did not realize how many franchises were out there.
Because I've owned a franchise in the past, but it used to be you just go find a directory and just kind of or throw a dart at the wall and figure out what what works. But again, looking at your website, we looked at the list, but there's categories from computer technology to hairstyling, pet care, printing, repair, restoration, of course, food and beverage, financial services, kind of the whole spectrum. And like you said, upwards of 3,000 different potential, offerings. So as we kind of just finish up the last minute here, we obviously want to let people know how to reach out to you. But again, from somebody considering, they can actually meet with you as kind of that broker. When you put on your broker hat, I could sit down with you and you can kind of determine what's a good fit for me at no cost, right? On my part?
That's correct. And by the way, I work with people all over the country, so I do not have a fence put around me.
Okay.
And you're exactly right. Basically what happens is it's a pretty streamlined process of just sitting down. I have a confidential questionnaire that we go through to really go in and do an analysis of some key criteria that's going to make sense for you, not only from an investment standpoint, an area, territory standpoint, an industry standpoint, but from a lifestyle standpoint. And John, you brought up a really good point around Jimmy John's. Your lifestyle, and your passion with restaurant space really aligns with Jimmy John's. But for some to give up those Fridays and Saturday nights and those holidays, that may not align with their lifestyle. So it really is such a personal decision. So we really dive into those key aspects of franchise business ownership. And then based upon that, I'm able to go research businesses and present a couple of businesses for consideration. Ultimately, it is up to the individual to do that due diligence, and I'm able to coach them through that process so they're effective in their due diligence. But it's got to be the right decision for them. And obviously, it has to be the right decision for the franchisor as well. Franchisors award franchises, and prospective franchisees determine whether or not that, yes, this is the system I want to get involved with, because it is very much of a marriage, right? And John and Scott, I'm sure you could speak to that as well, just with your background in the franchise space, the alignment that's necessary to have a solid, strong business partnership.
Absolutely. So we want to thank our guests for joining us here in the studio again on Franchise Business Radio. And Pam, we look forward to seeing you when you're back in Atlanta, as you spend most of your time here.
Yes.
Just happen to be in Charleston.
Tell Mother Nature to warm it up a little bit for me, would you?
We'll see what we can do. We'll see you next time on an upcoming episode of Franchise Business Radio.
Yeah, and let me just go ahead and just lastly, signing off, just want to say thanks to everyone. Great group. Obviously, this is Pamela Curry, the host of the Franchise Business Radio Show. And again, this is a platform for bringing together franchise professionals and resources to connect, educate, and collaborate to serve the franchise community and consumer. If anybody needs to reach me, I can easily be reached at 847-970-8765. Or my email is pam@franchiseintellect.com. That's INTELLECT. pam@franchiseintellect.com. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you again for joining Pam Curie and her guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of the Franchise Business Radio Show.